Good evening, fellow YouTubers. Tonight I join you for a very important topic. One about
Santa!
Or dogs.
Also known as Santa.
This is our dog, Denali.
Who's that? Say hi! Who is it?
Nope, nobody here. I had a comment, somebody posted. They apparently got a puppy recently and they said, do you have any tips for training or just getting your dog used to going on hiking trips, backpacking trips, overnighters? How did we get started with Nolly hiking? Not necessarily going to tell you the right way to do it. There's a lot of controversy out there, or differing opinions, but we pretty much just kind of, we read up on it, but ultimately I think we just kind of felt it out and went for it. We got Nolly at what age?
So it's actually coming up on 2 years, December 21st,
Okay.
that we actually officially adopted him. And he was born October 21st,
Yeah.
so he was 2 months.
Just about 2 months on the dot. He got rescued and they put him up for adoption and we got him. So we really lucked out. He's super crazy, which goes well in this house. And we hike and backpack, so naturally we were going to do that with him. And I know sometimes people say, what's the best breed? I know I researched before we got a dog for years when we were on the fence. What's the best breed for hiking and backpacking and all this? And you find a million different answers. And there's certain breeds, obviously, that are better for endurance and running and this and that. But ultimately, I think it comes down to just getting a puppy or a dog young and raising it with your lifestyle. So
Training in its humans.
Yeah, I wouldn't get too hung up on the breed. In his case, he's obviously pit predominant and some other stuff going on. But we started from early on doing a lot of walks, right? Like well before his first hike, we would do a lot of long walks, getting out almost every single day for like a mile plus.
Well, that puppy energy.
Yes. We were doing actually 2 walks a day in the beginning. One in the morning, one at night. I'm not going to say I do that anymore. That would be great. He would love it. But back then, like, we wanted to really kind of train him or get him used to migrating, walking with the pack, doing mileage, getting those hips
Not
working.
like a pack, but like pack.
The pack,
We didn't put the pack on until much later, so.
No, we did whole backpacking trips without that, which we'll get into. We were doing a lot of walking to begin with, just in the neighborhood. Then going to parks, and then
Day hikes.
we're from the mid-Atlantic, so like Delaware or south of Philly. It's not super mountainous around here. There's not a lot of elevation change. We took what we can get. But we eventually, after a couple months of walking around the neighborhood, and we're talking, there'll be some times when we might do a 5-mile hike with him on moderate terrain. And then we started going to different parks and stuff, maybe down Maryland, Susquehanna, places in PA, to get some elevation changes, but nothing too crazy, and just get him used to doing mileage with elevation changes. Then eventually did his first backpacking trip, which
Was he 6 months?
I think it was 8 months. It just pops in my
8 to 9
head.
months.
It was probably, it wasn't April.
It was Shenandoah.
Right.
Wasn't that our first one?
Because you and I went to Shenandoah the year before in April, and it was like 30 degrees at night. Surprising for Virginia.
Yes.
So I know we didn't do that with him. We wanted to make sure it was kind of warm for him, which is another factor, especially for a short-haired dog like Nolly.
He's basically naked.
Not just the hiking that you should think of, but also, you're taking a dog that, yes, he's descendant from wolves, but he lives in your house, and your house is nice and warm and comfortable. People often comment on the videos like, oh, why do you have a blanket or a sleeping bag for your dog? And it's like, yeah, I get it. He could lay on the ground, but every night we sleep in bed together, and it's like we have a heating system, and he's kind of spoiled. So to shock him and throw him into the wild,
He wouldn't have fun. No one would have fun with that.
Be aware of that too.
Yeah.
So we wanted to make sure to start in the summer, and that would be a tip that I would give everybody out
I think
there.
we did it was a spring trip, and it was Shenandoah.
Like late spring. Yeah.
And what was it?
May or June.
Yeah.
And on top of that, we purposely picked a route that was not too aggressive, but would still be decent mileage, because he was already doing mileage at home, and out in the wilderness. I mean, the Shenandoah area is great because there's not a lot of miles you have to do, but you can feel like you're in the middle of nowhere pretty quickly.
And we did make sure that route stayed along water the whole time.
Yes.
So that way we wouldn't have to worry about, do we have enough? He could drink whenever he felt the need to pull over and drink, because we didn't know how he was going to react. As far as, would he be super thirsty? Would he be super overheated? So
That's true. Another thing you might not think about is water and food. Food might be more obvious. You got to pack that food in. On top of that, though,
heavy.
you got to
So
pack his
heavy.
water. Or I know what some of you are saying, and we'll get to it. He's got to pack his own food and water. We'll get there.
Not
But
it.
ultimately, somebody's got to carry that. But in the beginning, or in general, I'd say if possible, find routes that are along water sources. And then it's just better for everybody. He can stop and drink out of the stream whenever he wants to, or camp along water sources. And it's just one less thing to worry about. Keep your dog hydrated while you're on the trail. And then another thing is, on that first trip, he was 8 months old. I remember we did maybe an 8-mile day, maybe 2 8-mile days. Again, though, we studied the terrain and the trail we were going to do, and we knew it wasn't super aggressive. But nonetheless, I got comments that were like, and this brings up the controversy of when should you bring your dog backpacking. A couple comments of people saying that, you're going to hurt your dog. He's so young. He's in his formative years, and you're walking him, and his hips are still developing, and you're going to destroy his whole life and this and that. And I get that. And if you look it up, you'll find all these different dates for when you should start taking your dog hiking. I get that. And that's why, like a lot of things in life, I don't think there's a straight answer to it. If your dog is a couch potato because every night you just sit in front of the TV and so does he, and he doesn't play with other dogs or get to go outside in the backyard and run around or whatever, and you suddenly take him out on 16 to 24 miles over the course of 2 to 3 days, yeah, this is a shock to the system. On the other hand, if you're actually, like we said earlier, already walking your dog on a regular basis, even though it's flat around the neighborhood, you're doing a couple miles every single day to get him ready, and then suddenly you go out on a backpacking trip and you do, a bunch of miles or a moderate amount of miles, people go, oh, you're taking your dog hiking. Oh, you're going to hurt him. Some people got emotional and chimed in about that. But it's funny because if we were walking in a neighborhood and we were like, hey, we did a bunch of miles today, just a regular dog walk, people they might not say anything. But you say you're going hiking in the woods, and all of a sudden people think that you're abusing your dog. There's a difference between a trail that's flat in Shenandoah and doing the White Mountains or the Adirondacks straight up.
Yeah.
It's all about...
That trip we didn't have his pack on him, so he didn't have any extra weight on him. It was basically just, we were doing a walk, like you're saying, around the neighborhood. Yes, a little bit of a different terrain, and yes, we're sleeping outside, so that was a huge
psychologically for him,
difference, but we made sure we didn't start the pack until much later, so that way it wouldn't be extra weight, and he was just already used to walking so many miles as it was, so.
Right, because a big hurdle, from what we've seen, is just being in the woods.
Oh yeah.
He got weirded out.
Yeah.
So pick something that's mild, because just being out there overnight for a house dog, it's gonna freak him out a bit.
Yeah.
Most dogs. I mean, he was
at least
up.
for him. I mean,
He was
each
up
their
all
own,
night
but-
looking around.
Yeah.
Like, why are we here instead of walls and a bed and everything?
Well, you're out in the middle of the woods, so of course all of his instincts are going to kick in. He's looking around and
Primal.
seeing what he can see, and he can hear so much more than we can, so perhaps he was on guard for a reason.
Sure.
But, we make sure we have comforts of home and that we're right there with him and that, he feels comfortable, because he was super young at that point, too, so make sure to bring, his favorite bone and his blanket, things like that. That would just kind of make it feel
Yeah, that's a good
like we're
point.
just hanging out. No big deal. We're all here.
Yeah.
Just in the woods, not at home.
Bring some toys, familiar items
Yeah.
from home, pack it in, and then, like she said, so how many trips has he done total? And then when did we start the pack?
Oh, gosh.
Which we're going to show in a
I
minute.
guess we should have done this before we started recording. How many trips has he done? 4 trips?
He's done 4.
Is that not that much?
No, I guess not.
No.
Well, that's a couple a season. That's 2 per season
And
average.
we don't take him out in the winter yet. And we
No,
don't
not yet.
take him out in the heat of the summer because that's just too much.
But the first trip that he did his pack was...
Don't you have a playlist with the dog?
Yeah, I have a dog playlist,
Alright,
which
let me
if
pull
anybody
this
is interested, you can go to the dog playlist, just like I am, apparently, to figure out my own life. I got 6 videos with my dog.
Apparently
Whoops.
we missed you.
Okay, so Denali's first one.
Who's that one?
Right. And then, oh, the pizza hike.
Oh,
New York.
Pizza. How can we forget the pizza hike?
That was October. He was 1 year. So we did 8 months, then 1 year in New York. All right, so this brings up a good point. His second hike was a hike that I had done by myself years before.
Right. And this one was more advanced
Yes.
compared to the first one.
More advanced, but we did it as a base camp. So it was only 2 miles in.
That's right.
We set up camp by like noon, right? So then we had no real weight on our back. And I think that was the first time he had a pack, right?
Yep. I see it in the thumbnail.
All right, so he had a pack at 1 year old. And that's when he started carrying his own food, his own water, leash, stuff like that we'll show on the pack.
So we did the 2 miles in with everything that he needed in this pack.
Right.
And then when we went up the more serious terrain, I think we took the majority. He still to this day hasn't carried his own water because we can't figure out how to get it to fit in there.
No, I've done a 16-ounce water bottle.
Well, we'll get to your solo trip in a minute,
whoa.
sir.
Okay.
But then for the majority of the hike up, we took a lot out of his pack and just kept his food and his bowls in it, and I think that was it. So he had a little bit of weight, so it wasn't so
Right.
lightweight and moving around.
It was a
but
good introduction.
it wasn't all of it first time straight up.
And we had no packs on really, so if it didn't happen. But if he really was struggling, we could
could've
take
easily
his
taken
pack
it,
off.
yeah.
I mean, whatever. But that worked out well. And then we knew camp was already set up. So we had that aggressive climb up and then climb down, but camp's already ready to go. So
Yeah.
if he was fatigued, and maybe he was, we all were maybe, we just show up at camp and we make some pizza. Check that video out if you haven't already. It's pretty fun.
But
Yeah.
a side note,
Yeah.
wine note,
Yeah,
see what I did there?
yeah, I see what you're doing.
So he rarely gets people food from table to mouth. He'll get people food treats like broccoli and those sort of things, but he never sees where it's coming from. But a lot of things we do when we're hiking is we give him a lot of those treats we get at the end of the night and after a long hike.
Oh,
he
yeah.
gets a lot of fun people food in his dog food. So he's getting an extra kind of just what I love about hiking and camping is
Yeah.
the food and the kind of campfire aspect of it. He's getting it in his own
Yeah.
bowl too. So it's fun for him and different.
He kind of associates hiking with good food, kind of like we do as well.
Yeah.
And he needs the extra calories.
Yeah.
Which I would suggest as well. Look into foods that dogs can eat prior to going on that backpacking trip.
No matter what, I still Google every single thing before I give it to
We
them. Because
do.
you never know. Raw potato,
Yeah.
I learned over Thanksgiving, they can't have.
Cooked,
So
okay.
anytime
Raw,
before
no.
we give them anything, I always just throw a, hey Google, and I just know,
Right.
just in case, because there's a lot of things out there that is toxic to them that we don't realize. Like onions, grapes, things like that he can't
Just
have.
stay aware.
So
Yeah. But that way, if you're doing your trip, even if you're like us and you're strict about your dog not eating human food, just kind of plan your meal out and just know that, because I've seen him do it, at least with him, he gets super into it and jacked up, we're doing this, and he's so on cloud 9 and jacked up that he doesn't want to eat. And at home, I don't want to build that pattern of convincing you to eat dog food. When you're hungry,
Right.
you'll eat. But in the woods, I need you to hike another X amount of miles the next day. So we'll give him a little bit of our food mixed into his dog food. So just think about that. Check out the ingredients. Make sure that whatever food you're bringing that might be an enticing additive to his food for extra calories is safe to eat.
he left. The star of the show left. But then your solo trip. Seneca
All right,
Creek.
so next one. That was the third one?
This is the third one. So then you did a solo. They left me.
Yeah. He was wearing his pack for that one,
Yeah.
which we saw at the show, and we will.
We will.
Um,
And then we did Susquehanna River.
okay.
The hiking, the backpacking trip that never was.
Yeah.
Then we did Dick's Range, Adirondacks,
Uh-huh.
and that's
Two-part.
a 2-part.
So that was his most recent one.
And that one was The most
that was a
intense
couple
for all of
months
us involved.
So he would have been 20 months or something like that at that point. And yeah, that was brutal for all of us. Very, very steep, rugged terrain. There was points where we had to lift him up. You know what also is not listed on there is went to New Hampshire on our Jeep vacation. I didn't make a video about it, but he was probably a year and a half. He was probably 14
that
months
was in between.
old.
We didn't record that, yeah. But that was the first time we made like parent decisions to turn around.
Yeah, yeah.
That was the first time we were like, we should not continue.
Yeah, we were almost there. It was like summit fever. People talk about it. We were within under a half mile of the summit, but it was getting dark. It was getting windy. It looked like it might rain, which would make it slippery. And the Webster Scout Trail that we were on is it's all rock and super steep. And so we turned around with him, and we carried him over some obstacles and stuff.
So that was the first time we like officially carried him.
Yes, yes. So then after that,
the Adirondacks, part 1 and 2.
right, which was, like we said, his most brutal overnight.
And that was the first one that we introduced the hammock to, because prior to that, we just brought your Z-Lite and would have him lay on the ground, kind of in between the hammocks. But I really wanted a system that was strictly for him, because ground dwelling for him, every time I swear I would look down, there would just be spiders the size of his face, kind of there, and it was just a little, I know, he's an animal, but it was just...
Yeah.
So that brings us to present day here in our family room, and you're welcome.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Well, like, we're just gonna end it. You're welcome. Hi. Did we finish everything that we needed to about the hiking and what we've done with him and how we kind of did it?
I hope.
If not, leave your comments below.
Yeah.
We can do another one.
We can do a follow-up if we failed. I'm just hoping by anecdotally going through our different trips, maybe we brought some things up. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's show his pack that he has now and his jacket.
I should grab his leash though to show it.
We haven't really talked about leash. Maybe grab his leash. Leash, that's an issue that can vary depending where you are, especially if you're like us and you put your videos on the internet and you get all kinds of we get all kinds of comments, but it depends where you go. Some places require a leash physically, no matter what, and other places they say, like New Hampshire, your dog has to be under control at all times, whether that be physical, leash, or verbal via command. So when you go hiking, A, it may not be legal to have your dog off the leash, or B, it may not be right to have your dog off the leash. In the beginning, I would literally take his leash. Here it is right here. It's an Outdoor Master leash.
Oh, is that his old one?
This is his old one.
Where's his new one?
This is $10, 10 or 15 bucks?
Yeah, something like that.
I think it's 10. This lasted almost 2 years, probably a year and a half, and finally the buckle failed. But we did a lot of salt water with this. He would swim with it on, and it failed, so we put a carabiner on it.
That's my leash.
I know. And we got a new one recently. I would take this, and it has the loop here, and I would take a carabiner in the early days, and I would put it either on the belt loop or on my backpack, so that no matter what, he couldn't go too far. That was strictly because we didn't know how he would react. He loves this old leash. How he would react to a deer or something running across the trail.
And he does not react well, so he stays on the leash.
Yes. Then there's times where it may be legal to let your dog off the leash. And even then, and it's a good point, and I'm guilty of breaking this, but we might have his leash on him and just drop it and let him run. And I've had people bring up a good point. You know, at first I was like, oh, are they just being a little over the top? But it makes sense. If your dog is on a leash and they're running full speed through the woods, whether you're playing with them or something goes wrong, and that leash snags on something, like that loop, it could jerk their neck pretty good. It's probably pretty rare, but it's something to be aware of. So if you're going to have your dog off the leash, it's probably best to just take the leash off all the way, which if you look at my videos, I'm guilty of not doing. That being said, and I would never break the rules, but there's certain times where you're in areas where you should have a leash, but you might drop the leash. Just keep in mind that it's, you know, it might not be the safest thing to do.
I still leave it on, and I still put it inside of his pack, so in that way it's always ready to grab.
Right. Let's look at the pack.
Yeah.
I know they didn't ask about the pack, but...
No. We've had a few people ask about
In
what's
general.
in your dog's pack, so we thought we'd kind of do segment part 2. Here we go. Boom. What's in your dog's pack?
Ba-da-da-da-da-da.
It's funny you ask. It's funny you ask. We seem to have his pack right here.
Oh, look at that. It's right there.
What's this?
He's excited. So, first things first, should you talk about that?
First things first, we have his little baby coat. First little baby show.
Again, why does your dog have a jacket?
He's
he lives
naked.
indoors next to a fire.
But so with pit bulls, they only have, generally dogs will have 2 coats of fur. Pit bulls just have 1, and then there's multiple parts of his body in which that actually don't have fur.
It's
Generally on like the underside. And he gets
Yeah.
super cold, super easy. So why not make him extra comfortable if we're asking him to do extra miles and sleep places that he may not be comfortable. This we're hoping makes him more comfortable.
Yeah, and a sleeping bag or a blanket can get kicked off. A jacket will stay on. So during the day he wears this.
This won't actually stay on. It's not the best one. I would recommend a non-Velcro for your dog.
We're gonna sew buttons on this. But it
Because every
can't.
time he shakes it, instantly
Yeah.
the Velcro comes off.
But at night on his mat, it
Oh,
does
yeah.
well.
It's perfect.
Yeah.
But this way, so as soon as we get to camp, we change out of our sweaty clothes. We know the temp's dropping. We throw this on him, so in that way he knows it's rest time. Rarely has he hiked with us, but we haven't done any winter hikes with him. But this is definitely like his camp
Yes.
robe.
It's like when we get to camp and put
Camp
on the
robe.
extra fleece. That's
Camp robe.
camp robe.
And then here's his pack.
There it is. So it's like a canvas material. This is by One Tigress, I think. And I forget the name of it, but if you do a One
Look how
Tigress,
liking everything.
I'll put a link in the description. I like it. Now it's not waterproof, and at first I was like, oh, okay, well maybe someday I'll get a waterproof one. But somebody pointed out a good tip or point to me, which was your dog is going to go into water no matter what. So get something resilient like this. This is not going to tear if you hit a twig or a thorn. It's not going to beat this up. Water's going to go through it, yes, but only put stuff in here that water doesn't matter to. So in our case, we put dog food inside of Ziploc bags, and then what else do we have, Sarah? Do you want to break down what's inside?
So, pocket number 1.
It's like side saddles, kind of.
Pocket number 1. So he has 2 bowls that collapse. Doggone dish. 2 little collapsible ones. One for water, obviously. One for food. Super easy to throw if you're just doing day hikes.
Yeah.
It packs really nicely into his thing, his pack. So
Even when you're doing short hikes around home, this packs down. It has a little elastic band on it. It packs down so small that you can actually connect it to your leash and always have at least one bowl with you for water.
one thing that we just learned, and I wish we would have known sooner, are these Trail Buddy treats. They also, I don't know about them, but they also have dehydrated, right?
They're freeze dried.
They have, but there's also like dehydrator, freeze-dried dog food, which apparently
Yes.
weighs less, which I definitely want to look into because dog food weighs a heck of a lot. And when you need to pack, we feed him 3 times a day.
Yeah.
When you need to pack 3 scoops a day, and if you're doing like 3 days, a lot of food.
No, I would say once you get past 2.5 to 3 days, you're
You
not
can't fit
fitting
it.
it in this
No.
backpack. You're going to carry it,
Yeah.
or you're going to get a bigger one for him.
Yeah.
Keep that in mind, unless we figure out something with the
Yeah, but they do
freeze-dried.
have that, so definitely look into that because I didn't realize that. But anyway, so he loves these, and so we would sometimes put them just in like Ziplocs, or we'll bring the whole bag, just in that way you don't need to worry about
Look at it.
figuring out how much.
Remember that?
Yeah, that's right. That's that good stuff. I don't get that here. Oh, it smells terrible.
It smells terrible.
It's lamb. I like lamb, but we have our bell in here for it.
That's a bear bell that you would wear to scare bears away on yourself in bear country. But in our case, we put this on his collar, sometimes on his pack if it's on him. Yeah.
But that way we know where he is.
Yeah.
So if he is off of leash and if he does go a running or wanders where we can't see him, we can hear him.
Yes. So he's creating constant noise, the same as a bear bell normally does to clear wildlife, which not really bears, but deer, fox, bobcat, squirrel, stuff he's gonna chase. And then on top of that, the more important thing is, and I've had people comment before, like somebody said, like, instead of that bell, you could get a GPS unit for your dog. Which is awesome, but that's more reactive. The bell is proactive. So on a hike with all three of us, he's usually in the middle. So somebody has eyes on him. When I'm solo hiking with him, like that Seneca hike that I did with him, with the bell, he could be behind me, which he's very comfortable with me being the leader. He could be behind me and I could hear the bell all the time. And if I hear it deviate, I know that he's gone off the trail or something. Whereas without that bell, I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah.
You've all been there. You get in the zone hiking, right? You're like, wow, it's been 20 minutes. I haven't even looked up, let alone where's my dog. So with the bell, it's like, you can keep track of where he is. So, and then in addition to that.
Yeah, in addition. So for at night, we used this on the last one that we did with him in the Adirondacks because guess what? There was night hiking. Because why not? But this was fun because he was then at a rave.
So this is by Night Eyes. It's called what? The Night Dog?
Yeah, super cute. So it just basically just velcros right onto his existing collar. So when it was night, we put it on him. We obviously had him on the leash anyway, but this way we could see him if we did just drop the leash, and it just kind of helped light up. So just another little safety at night tip. And we also did it around camp.
Yeah.
Too, he would just kind of we didn't obviously have it blinking, but
you
if
can
it
have
just
solid.
stays solid. But who doesn't want a dog rave?
Yeah.
I mean,
there you go.
Brown chicken, brown cow.
And it just velcros right onto the leash that you already have. Yeah, it worked well. It was like $15.
So that's in pocket numero uno. Flippity floppity. Second is this. I'm gonna let you talk about that.
This is a Kevlar strap. I think it's 15-foot Kevlar strap for a hammock. I got it from Dutch Roy Gear. It's the 2.2 version. There's a lighter weight one, but super lightweight. Yes, Kevlar, the same stuff that they make bulletproof vests out of. Strong and light. So I just happen to have it, and I grabbed it as his leash. So I actually carry.
His camping leash.
Yes. Yeah, we don't walk with it. I actually carry 2 of these, and if you put them together, you have 30 feet. You can put it around the tree, and then connect it with a carabiner.
Would you care for a carabiner?
Sure, I would. Love one.
One moment, please.
Oh, look at that. Oh, and it's Dutch Roy Gear, too.
Take a look at it.
That's right off of the canoeing hammock. Dual purpose. So I can put this on his leash, and then around the tree, and boom, he's not going anywhere. Which, for us, peace of mind. People have said before, your dog looks well bonded, he's not going to leave you. I get it. I don't want to wake up at 2 in the morning because I hear a weird noise and he chased it.
Yeah.
Eventually, we'll get there. But every dog's different. Nolly, no. I'm going to keep him at bay.
Yeah. And this is our first dog, our very first dog, so we don't have previous experiences of doing this before, having different hiking dogs, so this is our very first one, and just given his personality and knowing that any noise, he's going to go explore potentially what it is. Whether or not we say no, leave it, those commands are strong, but they're not as strong when his animal instinct kicks in. No. That's an us fault.
We got to work on that, yeah.
You know, that hopefully will get better as he continues to mature, but certainly I know I sleep better at night knowing that he's in his hammock. He also has the leash from the tree. He has the ability to go if he needs to go potty, if he wants to explore a little bit, but he's not wandering free. And certainly then when we get to camp and we're getting things set up and
Yeah.
cooking and whatever, he has the ability again to wander or go get situated somewhere comfortable and find his comfort if he wishes.
Yeah. Or even
and that way we don't need to be like, where was he last?
Right. Or even a snack or a lunch break. Every 15-foot length like this is a couple ounces. You do a snack break, you pull this out, put it on a tree, just nothing to think about. And at this point, he's getting older and more mature, so maybe we can phase out. But for those of you just getting into it, which is why we're doing this video.
And for your peace of mind, I mean, I find it helpful.
Yeah.
And then his little sweet baby hammock,
Yeah.
little sweet baby bag.
So the hammock, his hammock,
He's hating
is
it.
actually, I got it from Dutch Roar Gear. It's a
Oh yeah, that's right.
2Ts, like 2Ts hammock. I'll put a link in the description as well. For humans, it's a very short hammock. It's like for sitting or like a lounge kind of like diagonal lean. But for a dog, it's the perfect size.
Depending on your dog's size.
Yeah. It's like $30 just for the hammock, and then it has the continuous loop on there. So if you're like me and you're a hammock nerd, you have a bunch of suspensions laying around already. And in Nolly's case, I just carry, because he's a classic hardcore hammock camper, he goes whoopee hooks.
Aw,
So again, same Kevlar material, but just a tree hugger. So it's just like a foot to 2 feet of material, and the AM steel loops and a little Dutch whoopee hook. So we're talking a couple ounces there for suspension, and we put that right underneath of this, right? So picture like our hammock. And nowadays we do the 2 hammocks on 1 tree setup, not to get into that, but the chameleon double Dutch system. And then we run his hammock right underneath on the same trees.
Yeah. That's everything.
That's
Besides
everything?
some leaves. That's everything. One thing, and I don't know if all I almost said purses, dog packs have it, but this, speaking of airlifting your puppy if you need to, this is convenient. So this we ended up modifying because so he has a super tiny waist. So we ended up modifying it so then that way it fit a little bit snugger because the size up would have been too much, but a size down too little. So ended up modifying it so that it would fit well. But this way, we actually ended up using kind of airlifting him up and down when we would pass to and from. So I would go up, Sean could hand him to me, vice versa on the way down. I could hand him Nolly, and that way you kind of always have control on those weird up and downs until your dog gets to know.
Like steep rock type stuff.
Until your dog gets to know the trail. Once he gets a little bit better as far as knowing his own route that's best to take, but we would find him going ready to jump off some things that he shouldn't be jumping off of.
Yeah.
So
and
in
it's
order,
very accessible.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
right
it's right
there.
here.
You know you're not going to yank his neck.
Yeah.
It's
right there.
Yeah. If you grab it, you got control without hurting him.
And it helps
very
just
quickly.
guide him, and you can even put your leash right on here instead of having it on his neck. We did both. We did a leash, and then we were mainly just guiding him from here. But it helped us guide him as his human, so you need to make sure you help him through that until he gets better at it. So that's what's in his pack.
That's the whole pack. That's the jacket. That's his history.
I hope this has been helpful.
Hopefully. I think that kind of covers our experiences. Feel free to chime in with your own experiences with taking your dog backpacking, hiking, etc. It's an art form and a science at the same time, I would say.
What does for one dog or family and pack doesn't necessarily work for the other. So definitely if you have other tips for your dog or what you've done or what you think maybe we should try with Nolly, we're always game for anything. But yeah, I mean, it definitely is a vibe off of your dog and kind of how you guys roll as a pack.
That's a very important point. A big major factor that's probably left out a lot is how is your dog's mentality and physicality in the first place? See you guys later. Thanks for joining us on this fireside chat. Till next time, I'm Syntax77. That's my lovely wife, Sarah. And you have fun out there.